Sleep is something that people find very curious. It's one of the ones that we always wonder what's going on while I'm asleep, what's happening, and people show a lot of interest here. Here's some of my sleep data. You can see that I'm sleeping around 6 hours asleep per night. Most people should get 6 to 9 hours. I was averaging about 6. If you miss a good night of sleep, you're 4 to 5 times more likely to catch a cold. And that was happening a lot here. This data is from earlier this year. I got sick 4 times in 4 months. And because I was simply because I wasn't sleeping, I kept catching a cold, wasn't getting better. So the idea here is to sleep more consistently, and it's extremely important. Our immune system is completely impaired if you don't sleep enough. There's a book by Matthew Walker called Why We Sleep. And if you take a vaccination when you haven't been sleeping well, your autoimmune response is decreased by 50%. So it's basically pointless for you taking that vaccination for like the flu and stuff like that, not vaccinations in general. So here's a graph of my sleep data. You can see that my heart rate bottoms out here when I'm asleep, and that's when the ideal time to measure resting heart rate. Resting heart rate is when your body's completely at rest, and you can see a few spots there where my heart rate ticks up, and that's during a workout. I'm going to be talking about that next. Laying out the data here, it's pretty clear what's going on. My heart rate immediately ticks up the second I wake up. Activity. So there's 3 types of activity that you kind of can work out here. Volleyball for me is generally more flatline. I'm playing center, so I'm not moving as much. You can see that my heart rate response graph is a bit different from when I'm at the gym. In the second graph here, you can see I did a bit of HIIT interval training towards the end of the workout and then recovery, flat lines afterwards. Softball, you're coming in and off on innings. So you can see that the heart rate response reflects what you're actually doing. And that's important for when you're training and you're trying to target some type of goal, whether you need to gain more strength or more endurance. These fall into a few zones. Vo2 Max is when you're working at your maximum capacity, peak effort. You can't really last there too long. Some trainers tend to push that a little bit more. Anaerobic training is the next set where you're doing like lifting weights, which cause lactate to form in your body. You can't sustain that for very long either. Endurance training and stamina are zones for when you're trying to focus on weight loss and increased capacity in training. And obviously recovery and warm-up are when you're ramping up and ramping down from those zones.